what is DJ? Y'all gonna laugh at me because when I hit the intro, I already forgot I hit start the stream. I almost ended the stream.
That's it. That was our stream. That was our stream, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye.
The intro, I almost ended the stream. Oh, boy, that would have been bad.
Our 1 second stream. There you go.
Shortest stream in history.
Shortest stream ever. Yep.
Well, I guess we can go ahead and get right to it. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are the Sci-Fi Nerds, and we're back with another episode of the Sci-Fi Nerds podcast. And today we're going to be reviewing the MothMan Prophecies. I'm one of the hosts. I am Donald.
DJ.
Remy.
And we are half of the Sci-Fi Nerds. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything from Serge yet, so we don't want to block him out. So I'm not sure if he'll be here. Fingers crossed. Remy, you're right. We dedicate the show to also Doris and Nick, who couldn't be here because Doris is actually at a event. So she's painting faces right now. So that's a pretty cool, pretty big deal. Doris always got her hand in something. She's always doing something if she's not working. So shout out to you, Doris. But first and foremost, DJ, how your week been going, man?
Not too bad. There was a new game that released today, and I made the mistake of pre-ordering it through Amazon, and I'm waiting for it for any update other than we'll email you. So, I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I was hoping to get it and the bonuses for my Switch. So, if I need to, I can.
What game was it?
It's a Star Ocean second R or something like that. It's the second Star Ocean game. They remade it, updated the graphics and some of the mechanics and stuff like that. So, just thought it would be cool to have.
Okay, let me know how it is. Let me know how it turned out for you, DJ. I'm interested and keep me updated with Amazon.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're pretty good, and other times they're like, we're gonna wait a few days before we tell you anything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like a couple months ago, I had pre-ordered a couple of add-ons for one of my Cayman Rider belt driver things, and I pre-ordered it way in advance or whatever, or at least I thought I had. And then release date comes out, nothing. And then finally they're like, yeah, we ain't going to get restocked.
Oh,
damn.
I'm like, so.
Well, hopefully this situation don't occur.
Hopefully they get it right this time.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
What about you, Remy? How your week been going, brother?
Pretty good. Not too bad. This week's been pretty chill, I would say. I got some stuff to do over the weekend, but it's whatever. It's cool. Package that comes with college almost. So
there you go.
But,
what about you, Serge? How you doing, brother?
The college years. It's funny. So for those who don't know, I work at a college, right? And I actually work at the college that I went to as a kid 20 years ago. So when students ask me, did you ever come to school here at TSTC? I tell them, yeah, I was here 20 years ago. But, yeah, I was here. It's been a hell of a week. This is what do they call it? Friday Eve.
Yeah.
And I couldn't ask a better way to enjoy Friday Eve with you guys. Assuring the weekend.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate all of us being able to get on, and so it's always a blessing to be able to hang with you guys, at least see you guys, and talk to you guys. So I'm always grateful for that. Man, so I wish you could have been on Sunday, man. We had a good time discussing the thing. That was a pretty good discussion, man. That was awesome. It was a movie that DJ picked, and it was stuff in that movie that I forgot because I've seen it before, but I forgot about a lot of stuff in that movie.
Wait, which one?
The Thing.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
Yeah.
The 84 one.
Yeah.
With
Kurt Russell.
See, look at him. He's laughing. He knows.
Oh, I know. Yeah, trust me. I
He's
know.
like, no.
Yeah, that's classic right there.
Yeah, that one's gnarly almost.
Looks like some of the most disturbing imagery that that can't even be replicated now.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it just, I don't know. So the old movies just had this way of bringing something to life the best they could, and just better than they do now.
Yeah, a lot better. Tonight we're going to discuss the Mothman Prophecies. So this was actually my first time watching this film. I had never seen it. So I went into this movie not knowing what to expect. So it's always good because I can go into a movie and have a fresh mind and have my opinion on things, how I thought they were going to play out and turn out. But I will say the setting and the tone of this was cold, dark. It was pretty cool. So we'll go ahead and get right into the conversation, sirs. You picked me, so I'll start with you first. Because one of the things that stuck out to me was the first 20 minutes of this film. And I wanted to ask you, in your own words, describe how the first 20 minutes of this film set up the rest of the movie.
Well, the first 20 minutes of the movie are depressing. Yeah, like, I mean, it goes from nice and, like, hopeful and all that kind of stuff, and boom, just kind of drops out. So it definitely sets the tone for the rest of the movie. Like you said, the movie feels cold. The color scheme of the movie is just dark. It's grayscale. And so I always kind of felt from, it's more of like a psychological type thriller.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like one of my favorite kind of movies. Sci-fi, paranormal /
like mystery too.
Yeah. Psychological thriller mystery. And so I always felt like, man, like the way that the movie feels is the way this feels, like the main character, like that's the way the movie feels, looks, colors, and everything. That's how this guy feels throughout the rest of the movie, because that's what he's gone through. And so I think the movie did a really good job in that, just kind of capturing how does it feel to being left in that situation, that happens in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I will say, like I said, first time seeing it, so watching the 20 minutes of it, I just knew something kind of off was going to happen when she started stepping on the gas when they were driving down the road. I thought she was going to like hit somebody or hit something. And then that's when I seen like I guess the Mothman that would be flew. I don't know if it went in her eye or something. It was weird because she banged her head on the glass. And so from there, when she ended up in the hospital and she basically woke up and kind of freaked out when she saw her husband right there next to her, and she thought that she had seen something else. So I thought that really set up the tone perfectly. And then again, so like you said, it was a a grayish type film, cold. It was really, really done well emotionally. It was a great emotional tone. I will say that. Remy, I'll come to you in your own words. Could you describe the first 20 minutes of this film and how it set up the rest of the film?
Like, I think the first 20 minutes, I felt like I agree with Serge, where like it set up like a good idea of what kind of film you were gonna get into. Because like at first, like honestly, if you're about to watch a thriller or any horror movie that starts with a happy couple, you're instantly gonna know, okay, one of you is gonna die. Sorry, it's just gonna happen. One of you is about to get it, and of course the wife did. But that like first shot of the Mothman like coming right at the camera, I'm not gonna lie, that got me. I actually jumped a little bit. I was like, oh, like I was surprised because I haven't really seen this movie, so like that was like shocking. But it like kind of sets up this thing where it's like, okay, what exactly was that, and why is she suddenly seeing it in her visions, seeing her in dreams? Like it sets up the mystery aspect of the movie, going like, okay, like what exactly is this creature, or what is this being, and why did it do that? Is it malicious? Is it just like an entity that doesn't really have like a goal or anything like that, as expressed later on in the movie. But like I feel like the first couple of minutes of the movie like does a good job of that, and like it does a really good job at like making us empathize with the main character, because it's like you saw how happy they were. They're about to get a new house and everything like that, and then she dies, and you're like, oh damn, I'm sorry, dude.
Right.
Let me metaphorically
back.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll add to that, Remy, real quick, because I always thought, I think in a normal movie, the car accident would have been it, but it wasn't. You know, it was like what they found afterwards. So it was taking us to where we thought it was going to go, but then it didn't.
Right.
And it did in another twist, and that's what I thought was like, oh man.
Yeah, you thought that she would have died from the car accident, but then like they kind of like add on to it with the visions that she's seeing, and I like that aspect about it, because I'm like, oh, she's already dead. But like, no, not yet. Almost, but not quite.
Yeah, this movie was such a mystery. That's what I liked about it. And like I said, this is my first time seeing it, so I was like, dang, I don't know what's gonna happen next. And then he had some strange encounters, which is cool as well. DJ, I'll come to you. In your own words, describe the first 20 minutes of this film, and how did it set up for the rest of the film?
So, one little tidbit: the version that I was watching, I was into original language and everything. Apparently, it was in German text for like the time frames and stuff like that. So I didn't know how much time had passed until somebody actually said, later on, like, oh, it's been 2 years or whatever. So like, I was a little lost for the first 20 minutes, because I was like, man, this went quick. Like, and then, here I am thinking that it's like, a couple weeks or something like that. And I'm like, why is this buddy like, trying to hook him up or something like that? So,
I know. I figured too. I'm like, damn, dude, after a couple of weeks, I'm like, dude, the guy just lost his wife. Calm down.
Yeah,
it's too early for that, bro.
Exactly. Then you're like, oh, it's years. Whoops.
Yeah. So that out of the way, it reminded me kind of the John Wick opening in essence, because like in John Wick, it starts off showing him happy with his wife and everything, and then she dies from like a rapid onset cancer or some kind of disease or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was very, it was very interesting to see, such a big time gap between the two movies, but such very similar openings. It like everybody said, it definitely set up the mood for the movie. I can't remember if it was within the first 20 minutes or not, but I did notice at one point early on, it showed Richard Gere sitting somewhere, and it was just like all gray, like almost like black and white. Like that's how much color they sapped out of it. So it was very interesting, but kind of like what my little subtitle is, red was very prominent. Anytime red showed up, it was like in your face.
Because everything was so dark.
Yeah. So the two red lights from like the traffic cone kind of things, which turned into the Mothman's eyes or something like that for Deborah Messing, which caused her to spin out of control and everything. To just throughout the whole movie, every time you see red, it's like something's gonna go on.
Yeah.
So very good opening, very good way of establishing a theme throughout the movie, and they did good following through. So
yeah, I did. I couldn't agree.
Because it literally never changes.
And they did red is the best marketing color. So that the way they did throw that red in was pretty unique. So, but I definitely, like I said, my first time watching it, I definitely enjoyed it. Question number 2, sir, I'm come back to you. How would you describe the emotion of what John was dealing with throughout the film?
Well, I think, I mean, first, I think it's sadness and hopelessness, right? Because I mean, losing his wife, of course, that's what it's gonna feel like. But I also feel like he goes from um, sadness, hopelessness to feeling lost when things start getting weird, because he does get lost, right? He gets lost, but then being lost turns into frustration. Then frustration turns into I'm trying to find the right word, because he's trying to find out what is
Oh
going
yeah,
on. Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
Desperation, almost.
Yeah, desperation. From frustration to desperation, and then a little bit of both, right? Because it's
Mhm.
navigating what's going on, plus this new
yeah,
relationship that seems to be kind of there, but kind of not. But he's
yeah.
he's in that struggle. So, I mean, and I think like the last bit of the movie, the last, maybe not last half, but a little bit less than that, really shows. I think Richard Gere did a really good job of showing struggle, like his struggle. Like you can feel it, you can see
Yeah.
it, and especially when he's going to answer the phone,
Oh
but he
yeah.
doesn't. He's like, "Do I answer it? Do I not?" I'm like that right there was like, "Oh man, is he gonna answer it?" And then
Yeah.
and then you know so I remember feeling like, oh man, this it was almost not cringy in a bad way, but just, oh man, like
Tripping
that's
on your
kind of
Yeah.
heels. Tripping on your heels.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're like, answer it. Don't answer it. What do you do?
because he goes to
yeah. I
a
know for me, I
wild.
was like, don't do it, don't do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, don't do it.
Not her.
Freaking Mothman's gonna do something. I don't know what he's gonna do. He's gonna do
Yeah.
something.
Oh,
Yeah. He goes through a wide range of emotion. Because him and his wife just bought a house, and then she ends up getting into this wreck because of she has this encounter, with the Mothman. So he goes from, being happy, getting the house, because initially they were just looking. Well, he was just looking. His wife liked the house. He ended up getting it for her, and then they couldn't enjoy it. And then I think he had a little bit of confusion too because he didn't know what was going on. He had no idea what was happening. And then Remy and Serge, you guys talked about it. Desperation. So I think he had a wide range of emotions. I mean, because they were up and down, confused, trying to figure out what's happening, what's going on, looking for a little bit of redemption. So I just think the way that this movie did the wide range of emotions, and they didn't overdo it because these emotions came in different times at different points in the film if needed. And I think that's what uh, made this film really, really good because I think the film kept the same tone, but was able to display different emotions throughout the film. So that's one of the unique things that I liked about this movie. So it was a wide range of emotions that he dealt with. Remy, I'm gonna come to you. Would you describe the emotion of what John was dealing with throughout the course of the film?
I feel like the main thing that he was like dealing with was I think we started shit on all the right points and you two, Donald. I think you guys both got it. I also think that the main one that I got out of it was like he was just like, I think, in denial or looking for an answer basically. Because I think throughout the movie when he's trying to like figure out the riddles or the what's the word I'm looking for? The premonitions, I guess, that the Mothman gives him or Injured Cold gives him in the movie. He's trying to like prevent those and he's trying to like stop them. And it's almost like him trying to make up for not stopping his wife dying or like preventing his wife's
redemption.
death. So it's kind of like, so like throughout the movie, he's just like, I could have stopped it. I could have done it. And I think like near the end of the movie, when he calls Connie, I think her name is, when they have that talk and she's like, listen, people are going to die. People die in your life. And most of the time you can't stop that. It's just out of our control. And that's the one thing I feel like that's like one of the major themes I think that comes across with Richard Gere's character is because like he's just so lost, and he's just like, I need an answer for why this happened to my wife. When really, in reality, that there is no answer other than that life is a B. But that's the only like reason. So it's just like, but like it's like such a powerful like message. It's just like, yeah, sometimes it sucks to lose people, but sometimes like we just can't do anything about it. It's just the universe. The universe just like happens, and like we can't really stop it. It just occurs. The same thing with like all the disasters that Andrew Cole was talking about. Like there's no really way to stop them. They're just going to occur. And the best way to do that is just prepare yourself for when that happens.
That's a pretty good perspective, Remy. I like that. DJ, I'm gonna come to you. How would you describe the emotion of what John went through throughout the film?
Well, obviously, you guys touched on the main emotions, denial of some of the stuff that he's seeing and that's happening in front of him and everything. Confusion with when he picks up his wife's journal, because obviously she didn't tell him anything about it, and she was writing and drawing in it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So his shock at what he found in there, the interactions that he had with I forgot the guy's name now.
Gordon.
Yeah, Gordon. At first, it's a very hostile situation, so he's still trying to figure out why he's even there. He doesn't even know where he's at. He thinks that he just he just thought he was on the road for a little bit, and then once he finds it out, he's like, wait, huh? How did I get from all the way over there to over here in like that amount of time? And then he goes basically through the whole gambit of emotions. I mean, there's acceptance, there's anger, the whole grieving
stages of grief
path. Yeah. So throughout the whole movie, and it's not until the end that he's like determined to beat it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And speaking of Gordon, DJ, I was actually going to bring him up. I'm going to come to you, sir. So we do see a few more characters in MothMan Prophecies, and one of those characters is Gordon. So this is maybe a two-part question. So first, sir, how did you feel about the character of Gordon, whether it's characteristic, his moves or whatever? And then how would you describe the encounters that John and Gordon had?
Oh man, when I think about Gordon, I think just poor guy. Going like, I feel bad for him, because it's like most of the time, like he feels like he's going insane.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, the way he goes out is very, oh man. But I really liked his character, but I think I really liked his character because of his. I like how we have character development, but in this case, it was a relationship development that he has with Richard Gere's character, with John. So yeah, like you said, like it starts off very. They start off very bad, right?
Yeah.
What are you doing here? This guy's been coming every single night, middle of the night. To go from that to, John being the only one that he trusts with everything that's going on, because he also is involved in it somehow, or has been seeing things or been witnessing things and stuff like that. So what I really loved was, the way they grew together, as a development in a relationship within the movie. And then of course, like, you know, feel bad for the guy the way he goes out, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was I think he was super important to the whole movie because I think he gave it the feel of madness, you know.
He gave it a sense of urgency.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I think he was an integral part to the movie, definitely.
Yeah, Gordon, his character, man, like I said, he didn't go out too good. But like I said, my first time seeing this movie, his character was confusing to me, but confusing to me in a good way.
Mhm.
Because the first encounter that I see with him is, he's got the gun, and what was unique about it was, Gordon's wife. She said she heard the doorbell, but she never physically saw that it was John coming back 3 nights in a row. But that was one of the first tense scenes for me in the movie. Is when he pulled him in the house, like he just snatched him in the house and just had him in the bathroom in the corner, and I would have been scared to move too because what I'm gonna do.
Well, you know why he had him in the
I think
bathtub,
the thing
right?
is because he was like such a it's like a really simple dude,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
see the effects that all the effect of everything that's going on him.
DJ, you said she said it again?
Why he had him in the shower, right?
No,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know why.
in the tub.
Easy to clean up the blood afterwards.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Are you speaking from experience? How do you know that?
It sounds like you've thought about this before, DJ.
It's just simple deduction, elementary, you know.
Of course, yes, simple deduction. Yeah.
Yeah, he snatched him in there, and that was and I was confused. So I didn't know. I was like, because they had another encounter when John tries to apologize to him. So it was weird, but Gordon did a good job of displaying his range as a character. Like I said, his character was needed because for me, Gordon kept me curious because they stayed in contact, and then a relationship from the beginning towards the middle and the end of the film, they got close. And like you said, sir, Gordon was only trusting John towards the end after they had that first encounter, after they had the second encounter. So I thought that Gordon was much needed to the film. And like I said, I was confused by him because I didn't know what to think. I didn't know which way this was going. But anyway, Gordon, he did a great job in this film, and so I appreciated his character. What about me? Describe the encounters between John and Gordon, and how did you feel about Gordon as a character?
I think the encounters between John and Gordon, I think, kind of like helped pave the way for the they kind of like helped the story progress in a way because Gordon mentioned he had that vision of like 99 dead. I forgot what exactly it was, but he said something on like that account. And you have that scene in the diner or whatever, where they turn off the TV and then they reveal like 99 dead and like plane crash or something like that. And then you're like, oh. So then like that kind of like reveals a little bit more of like the Mothman, like, okay, so like this thing is like kind of predicting the future in a way. Or it can like it's like, yeah. Which is like very accurate to the Mothman, because like when I hear about it, it's kind of like an angel of death almost in a way, as some people like describe it. So like it's interesting that they bring that into the film, and then you kind of get that same theme with Gordon and John, especially like when Gordon's death scene, because like I don't know, it's possible that maybe the injured Cold might have like led Gordon out there or something like that, or was like telling him something that just led him outside in the cold.
Right.
Yeah, but again, you don't know. But I did like Gordon. I thought he was an interesting character because I thought that he kind of offered John some like solace in the fact that most people would have looked at John and gone like, oh, this guy's crazy. Like this guy was like insane. But with him and Gordon, they're kind of like on the same foot. Like, no, we've seen the same thing. Like we know what we're talking about. So like maybe we can try to figure this out. And like the way through them talking kind of helps the audience understand a little bit more of like what's going on behind the scenes. So I really did like that aspect that they added to Gordon's character, because I thought he was just going to be a throwaway character, but they actually gave him some importance. So I was impressed by that.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. They definitely. You said that perfectly, Remy. They definitely gave him some importance, and I'm glad he did stick around because normally when they showed Gordon, it was always tense, whether it was talking to him over the phone. Because remember, he sent the cop to his house when he was on the phone in the room. So that was a real intense part. Because when he opened the door, and she was like, "Did you just call John?" And it's like the way they just looked at each other. I was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, he's like, "No, I've been in bed or something like that."
I've been in bed since 9. Like,
Yeah,
no,
and then you just go, "What the? What is happening?"
Yeah, like I was like, so that's why Gordon. I didn't know he played it so well. I just had no idea what to really think. But he was a really good. What's up, boy? He was a really good. He was a really good character. DJ, I'm gonna come to you. To stop the encounter between John and Gordon. And how did you feel about Gordon's character?
So I was very like I don't remember what Gordon like his real name is, but he's been in quite a few movies, and he always plays a very very good character. Like whatever role he's playing, he's doing a great job with it. He was in The Punisher as like, you know, this tough as nails, like I'm going to kill you if you look at me wrong kind of guy. He was in Gone in 60 Seconds, I think. He was also in, you know, Armageddon with Bruce Willis. And you know, he's kind of always like right there at that confident level.
Yeah.
You know, to some character, some primary character. So
that's a good point, DJ. I like it.
So, and he's that again in this one. And you know, like everybody said, you know, their first interaction is very tense. You know, he reveals a key to his character in that interaction. He mentions that he no longer drinks.
That's right.
So that shows that he has a history of having, you know, like episodes or whatever from drinking too much.
Right.
And you know, he's quick to point out, like, I don't drink anymore. I'm a good Christian man. Like he, you know, he's trying to say, like, I'm not the same person I was.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You know,
straightening up, changing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think that's what helps lead credence to the bond that they start developing, because, like, you know, at first you do think, like, immediately you're thinking this guy's nuts because obviously Richard Gere just got there. So, like, how has he seen him 3 nights in a row? You know, and then as the story progresses and you see, you know, them interacting with each other, telling them what each other is seeing or hearing or finding out, you know, and then he goes from, you know, being of the mindset of like, you know, something's coming after me to, no, I'm being blessed. I'm being warned about what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so he starts embracing it and looking forward to the interactions, whereas John is like, no, this still ain't right, man. Like,
right.
You know, something's not right here. And you know, so that, you know, that kind of starts to separate them again. Like they're still working together, but Gordon's going off in a whole different direction than what John is trying to do.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's a very interesting dynamic to see that play out, where you have one person embracing this Mothman and looking forward to the interactions, and the other one's, you know, terrified about what he's hearing, what he's seeing, what's happening to other people that are seeing and hearing him too. And yeah, it's definitely, you know, interesting to think about what it was that was said to Gordon to get him to go out into the woods like that and just sit there. You know, he was barefoot. He didn't have jacket or anything. He just he went out and that was it. So, you know, and we never find out what it was that he heard or saw.
We never find out.
So, he was definitely a great addition to the movie. I always enjoy seeing that actor when he pops up in the movies and stuff. He always does a good job.
Yeah, me too.
So, So yeah.
Yeah, hey, good deal, DJ. I like it. I like it. I like it. Coming back to you, Serge. What was the turning point in this film for you?
I think it's when John tries to just move on, like he's been trying to figure out what's going on. Nothing is making sense. And he just says, forget this. But at the same time, like he's still searching. He's still searching for the answers. Like what is going on? And it leads me to one of I think the turning point is when he's talking to the book writer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what it is. The book writer. And then the book writer, like, he didn't really want to talk about it. He's already been shunned because of, his own quest to find answers. Yeah. And he tells John something to the effect of, they noticed you noticing them.
And it didn't like it.
And I always thought like, oh, like that's so creepy. That's so creepy. And that at the same time, that's what's going on. Like them, whatever paranormal thing they are, like they noticed him noticing them. And hence that's why all these warnings are coming to him, and then also to his friend. I don't remember Gordon's dead by that time.
I think he might have been.
Right. I don't remember.
I think he might have been. Yeah, I think he might have
so,
been.
I it's been a few months since I watched the movie, but I've seen this movie many, many times. I have the DVD from like God knows how many years ago, around here somewhere. So it's one of those movies for me. Like I watch it anytime I can. It's in the rotation, just like all the Godzilla movies.
Okay.
And so, but yeah, I remember that thinking like when he tells him that it feels like, oh, so this is why all this is going on. This is why I'm still in the middle of all this, because they've noticed me noticing them, and then from there, like just stuff gets crazier. And then you can also see, I think Richard Gere did a really good job of just, when you look at him, you can feel like he's thinking.
He almost made you believe like you were lost with him, because he felt lost. So
Richard Gere is really good at being lost. Like that was saying. And so like
you look lost. Sure.
Like you can feel like,
there you go. Perfect.
That kind of what from him, like when he's told that. And I think for me that's when the turning point is. And I think from then on, that's when he goes to, obviously the next round of things is him going back to Point Pleasant to,
DC, I think.
Was that?
I think he goes back to DC, I think.
Oh, he goes back to DC.
Yeah.
Because at that point he doesn't want anything to do with it anymore. Yeah,
because he threw out all the papers and everything like that, and he was just done.
Yeah, exactly. So when he hears that is when he's like, no, I don't want anything to do with this. He wants to get back to his lonely life. But then of course, things change from there. But yeah, I think that's the point where the turning point for John is.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the movie was good throughout for me. I think a couple of things that could have been the turning point for me was when he started flipping through his wife's journal and he recognizes what she had been drawing throughout, because she hadn't said a word, to him about it. And sir, I think you brought that up. Well, you brought that back to my attention. So I appreciate you for that. And that was one of the things that was mind blowing, because when he turned around, the nurse was gone. He was standing in the doorway. And then, of course, his first encounter with Gordon, because that really made me get up off my seat, because I was like, okay, now, it's about to get serious. Because I don't know, Gordon just had this vibe about him in the movie that I loved. He really, really played that character. He did a really good job. And then when they went to go speak to the lady who was saying the same thing, that older lady, that was another scene that caught my attention because she was basically describing the Mothman just like what his wife had in the journal. So I thought that was cool too. And so now he realizes he's still lost, but he's not crazy at this point, right? Gordon's not crazy at this point, and so those were some of the turning points for me when I was watching this film. What about you, Remy? What was the turning point in the Mothman film for you?
I think the turning point was when John like first has his actual like conversation with Indra Cold. I think was my turning point. Because at first we like never really heard about it, and then I think Gordon called him and said his name is Indra Cold, and you're like, what the hell kind of name is that? And then when you get the call, you're like, oh, this is the guy, this is him, this is the Mothman, Indra Cold. Is he a man or moth? Who knows? He calls him, and I personally, I think I really love the way his voice sounded too.
Me too.
Whatever they did with it, I think it sounded like really cool because it gave off again that like very supernatural, like very mysterious, like vibe to it. You're like,
it was distorted.
Exactly.
It was staticky. There was in musical terms, there was whoever voice it was they added octaves to it. So there's a low portion and there's a high portion going on at the same time.
Yeah, and it really gave off that like eerie kind of like.
He even had a higher pitch than he did too.
Yeah, exactly. When they like have that scene when they're kind of like messing with the audio.
Yeah.
Like it's words being made out of sounds basically, but like that scene to me is like the most interesting because like it's John literally have a conversation with this entity, and it's like such an interesting scene because John's literally like trying to test it. He's like, okay. Where's my watch under the desk? he's like, are you reading my mind? He's like, yes. And like,
yeah.
And again, like he tells them some more premonitions and stuff like that. And like, it's like a really interesting scene because that to me is like when like stuff starts kind of hitting the fan in a way. Cause you're like, okay, finally had a conversation with it. Now what the hell's going to happen in the rest of the movie? Like what does this entail for the rest of the runtime? So that was my turning point in the film.
And that's a good answer, sir. Good answer, Remy. I like it. DJ, I'm coming to you, brother. What was the turning point in this film for you?
So I think what kind of set the ball rolling towards the end for me was, I think it was his second conversation with the author, and the guy explains that he was committed because he was trying to warn people so much,
right?
And then John goes to that politician and is like, the plan's going to blow up because that's his interpretation of what he's being told,
right?
Tragedy on the Mississippi or something like that.
The Ohio River.
Yeah.
West Virginia.
I don't know where I got. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got that from.
He lives out in California. Everything's like
West Virginia. My bad.
He's focused on the plant because of what other people had said they encountered around that area, not thinking about any other possibility of what could happen, in there. And so, like, for me, I almost thought that the next scene after he confronted the politician was going to be him being thrown into an insane asylum. That's what I was expecting, like him being committed or something like that, because they kind of like show like the politician like make the call or something like that.
Right.
But I realized it was they were saying to call his boss basically to fire him or whatever. But yeah, like that was kind of like the big point. Like, he tries to warn him. He's freaking out and everything. He's telling Connie or whatever the lady sheriff's name was. And then nothing happens. And he's sitting there like, okay, is it going to blow up while they're doing a news report about, and so like for me, that's kind of where, like, cause he was warned. Like, nobody's going to believe what you're saying. Like, you go to anybody that's not experiencing this and you tell them, they're going to think you're nuts.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. The author, I think, tells him that.
Yeah. And he's like, nah, I'm different. You know? And so yeah. So that was what stood out.
All right, third, winding down. What were three things that stuck out to you in this movie?
I think the things that stuck out to me the most were, number one, the tone of the movie. Because that tone just stayed so consistent the whole time.
Yeah, it did.
You
Yeah.
know, like, and I think that's what I love about it. Like, right after everything's happy and everything, and then things take a turn for the worst, the movie just stays like that. And the movie stays like, it just stays tense. Sometimes it's more than others. Sometimes tense in a confused way.
Yeah.
Sometimes tense in a frustrated way, but it just stays like that, and it stays cold. That's why I always thought Indrid or Ingrid Cold, like, it was just so damn.
Yeah.
If you were gonna name, if the Mothman was gonna have a name, like, it's just weird, you know. Like, I that and that's why I love this movie, because it's just weird.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's not gory. It's not scary. It's creepy. You know,
Yeah.
It's different.
unsettling. You know.
Yeah.
And
Really?
that's the first thing that is I feel like, man, they just did a killer job of just keeping that tone consistently gray, you know, throughout the whole rest of the movie after it gets going. The other thing that sticks out to me in my mind is how well they mixed the actual lore of the Mothman with a story, you know, like, because the movie was based off of real events, right?
Right.
Now, of course, just like any of those movies, there's another story that's made up in there to intertwine with it.
Right. Yeah.
But I think they did a really good job of encapsulating the lore of the Mothman and how the Mothman is within its own lore within the movie. Like, you know, it's Remy, like you said, it's like that angel of death, but it's like, it warns you. Its presence warns you. If it's there, something's gonna happen. And I thought they did a really, really good job of that without, you know, making it too crazy, without getting too wild with it, without Mothman going on some sort of weird killing spree for no reason. That's not in its lore. Its lore is just weird and creepy. And I think the movie did a really, really good job of, like, keeping to that lore and creating a story within the process. The other thing, man, the visuals, like like DJ said, when red comes out, you see it and you know what it's referring to. And I think this movie had such cool visuals without anything being crazy. Like, there's nothing really visually striking within the movie except the use of color and, like, stuff that's superimposed into the picture. You know, like the scene where I always thought the creepiest scene was where he's next to that plant, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's dark, you know, and it's like, oh, what? Wait, is someone here? What's going on? And then there's another scene, or it might be in that scene, where a lot of times in this movie you see a picture and then it starts coming out, but the picture looks like something else, or you see a shape of something within that picture coming out. And I think with that factory or that plant, I think it's at the end of that scene where the what's his name is there in the truck, and you see the scene starts moving further away, and as it moves further away, you see the figure of somebody, like, or something in within not the shadows, but the shape of like the factory figures and stuff like that, and things like that were just, oh man, like that was cool.
I don't think I noticed that.
Yeah. Go
Yeah,
back to that scene.
They use the transitions to do that.
Yeah.
As
Every
it starts
time
zooming out, you start
Yeah.
to see other things
Yeah.
within shapes and whatnot. And I always thought that was super cool because it's subtle, and it's so subtle that it's creepy within the context of like everything that's going on in the movie. So that's why one of the reasons why I love this movie is because of stuff like that. They didn't do anything crazy to be creepy, you know?
Right.
And this is one of those cases where I think the less was more, but damn, did they really knew what to do with that less.
Yeah, no, that was a really, really good answer, Serge. I couldn't agree with you more. For one, about the tone. The tone definitely stood out to me. It almost had like a grayish. Remembering the 2014 Godzilla where he's walking through the water. And I think this is around the time when the Mutos had flown down into the water.
Mm-hmm.
It almost had kind of like that same color scheme, but the tone stayed consistent throughout the whole movie, and that's why it kept it so interesting, such a thriller, such a mystery, because that tone didn't change. One of the things that stood out to me as well about this movie was this movie didn't overwhelm you with characters. I mean, they had the right amount of characters in this movie. They all did a really, really good job, and carrying their roles, acting in their roles, and you didn't have all these superstar characters in this movie. You just had your normal stars, and everybody had their roles. So that was another thing. They did not overwhelm you with the characters. And then the third thing, I would have to say the Mothman himself. He was a mystery, but not a mystery at the same time in this movie. So that's another thing that stood out to me. So if you watch this movie, you would probably think that is simple, but once you get into it, based off the tone, based off the feel, even the energy, at some point in this movie, you're gonna be like, "Wait, what happened?" Or you're gonna be like confused, or you're gonna be like, "Hey, I don't know what's happening." But it's all in a good way because now you're trying to figure out the same thing that John's trying to figure out. And I like that this movie also gives you a chance to try to figure out what's gonna happen next because you really don't know what to expect, with how the movie is going. And so that's one of the things I appreciate uh, about this film. Remy, what about you? What are three things that stuck out to you in this film?
I think the first thing that stuck out to me is actually like Richard Gere's performance because I'm not really familiar with Richard Gere, but after watching this movie, I'm like, I think I need to check out more of his movies now because I think his performance in this movie is like really good, like really solid. Like the way he, again, we talked about it, but like just the way that he like acts and like he's able to just come across just as like sad, desperate, confused man dealing with this stuff. Like it's really interesting and like the way like you kind of and the way you're really rooting for him in order to like figure this out and just to like be happy. You just want the man to be happy again. You're like, oh my God, smile. Like, please. So like that I feel like that was one of the strongest aspects of the movie. And again with Serge, I agree with Serge said too about less is more, which is my second thing, because I really appreciate like me. Like, come on, like I'm good with less is more to like in like certain like aspects of a movie. Like with Godzilla, it's different because I'm like, okay, we're there for Godzilla, so like give us him. But like in the context of this movie, I'm like, it's fine actually because it's the Mothman. I'm like, there's not really like a clear design of it. All we have is just like urban legends and myths on what this entity or this thing is. So like seeing that in this movie, like the way I really like the scenes where it's just people like talking about their encounters with the Mothman, like the woman at the window or Gordon's like mirror thing where he said, I just saw a face or something like that. And like the young couple who said that they saw something like on top of their car, like looking at them. because like that reminds me a lot of stuff I would see of like documentaries talking about like Bigfoot or like Loch Ness Monster, where it's just them describing it, and just the fact that and just their stories alone are enough to give you the to kind of give you the creeps or like oh like ew because like they could have so like easily like in the window scene they could have like cut to two red eyes like looking at the woman, but they didn't because they were like no, because they know that what we imagine in our minds is much more terrifying than what they're ever going to put on the screen. So I appreciate that fact about the movie. And third thing is the Mothman itself. I'm not very interested in Mothman, but like it is like one of those myths where I'm just like, no, it does pique my interest when I do hear about it, because like it's such an odd phenomenon that I really do like appreciate the way that they like kind of talked about this movie. Like every single time he went to go talk to the author, I always found myself more intrigued in the movie. Just because of the way the doctor talked. I really love the way the doctor talked, and just because of the fact that it was exploring so much of the backstory of the Mothman and like what exactly they are not. So like it was really interesting to me. So yeah, those are my 3 takeaways from the movie.
No, good answer, Remy. I like it. DJ, coming to you. What are 3 things that stood out to you in the Mothman Prophecy film?
So one of the key things that stood out to me was the burn marks that appeared when the Mothman visited whoever he wanted to visit. So the first time that you see it is the front of the wife's car. There's the Mothman shaped burn mark in the front grill and everything. And then there's on the tree, and I know that there's a couple other spots that they showed where there was this same unique shape burned into something. And that was like, you know, the stamp of him actually being there. And that was one of the things that I felt was that they could have explored more.
Okay.
Like, you know, John noticed it, but maybe I missed it, but I don't remember anybody ever talking about it.
I don't think they did.
No, they didn't.
I think John was the only one that kind of like saw it most of the time anyways, or noticed it. I don't know. So,
but to me, that was the one thing that kind of, you know, really stood out, was like they're showing this repeated thing and then they don't, you know, explore it further. So, I also appreciated the color tones throughout the movie. And, you know, as Serge was talking about the visuals, the fact that they, at least to me, whenever they did that transition zooming in or zooming out kind of thing, it always looked like the odd shape was like one of his wife's drawings. So, you know, like it's not in your face,
right?
You know, but it's very subtly seems along those same kind of lines, like, you know, here's where we're bringing you back in, or, you know, whatever. So, so I thought that they did a pretty good job with, you know, kind of keeping that consistent throughout the whole movie, and not, you know, not having it being comedic or overdone or anything like that. It was, you know, it felt like part of the movie, like, and you know, the last thing I'll say is the police officer woman. She alludes to the finale.
Yeah, that's right.
When she's talking about the, you know, the dream that she had where she's drowning and there's all these presents and stuff like that. You know, and then she mentions, you know, the number that she hears, and then, you know, it clicks to her when she sees John after the bridge collapse and everything. But, you know, it was an interesting way to tie her into the whole into the whole process too. Like, she's been a part of it from the very beginning without realizing that she was a part of it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Oh yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, I do really like that line where she says, "Wake up," like 37, number 37, like at
Yep.
the end of the movie, because you're like, oh, because you're like, oh, that's what I meant.
But I do want to squeeze this in really, really fast. Serge, in your own words, describe the final sequence, and out of 5 stars, how would you rate this film?
The final sequence. Ooh,
Final sequence.
the final sequence is it's proof that John wasn't crazy. But the reason why John wasn't crazy is just as crazy. Out of 5 stars, I'm going to give it a 4.5. It is one of my favorite movies because of all the reasons that we said. It's creepy without being overly done, without sticking to the normal tropes that we would normally see in creepy movies and things like that. It doesn't weird you out the way other movies normally weird you out or just, spook you. So I'm gonna go with a 4.5. I've had the DVD for God knows how many years, and anytime I can watch it, I'll watch it. And it's a movie that anytime you watch it, you get sucked into that gray. And
Yeah.
4.5.
I'm with you first. In the sequence, man, it was crazy, intense. I will say that, crazy and intense, because I didn't know what was going to happen, especially when that girl was in that police truck and it fell back and it went into the water. So I thought she was like a goner. I had no idea what was going to happen. I would give this film my first time seeing it. I would definitely give it a strong 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed this movie for my first time watching it. If it would have had a killer soundtrack, I would have gave it a 5 out of 5. I think that's the only thing it was lacking was the soundtrack.
You know what? It does have a good soundtrack, but you don't hear much of it.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You don't hear.
I will say that the end song they have the end credits though. That song was actually pretty good. I listened to.
Yeah, that was.
Song. I'm like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was. What about you, Remy? In your own words, describe the final sequence, and out of 5 stars, how would you rate this film?
The final sequence of the movie, I think, is like, obviously, I think where most of the film's budget went, but also that's the thing I think I'm most familiar with in the Mothman lore, because I remember they said that there's like this photograph or something like that where you could see a figure sitting on top of the bridge, and I think a day later, that's when the bridge collapsed. So that was like the thing I was most familiar with. I was like, they're bringing this into the movie, because I heard about that and I heard about the connection it had to Mothman one time in a documentary I watched. So that was interesting to me. It was cool to see that, and I kind of like the end where like I guess at the closure for John, where like he may not have been able to save his wife, but he was able to like save Connie in a way. So like it kind of like gave his character some closure in that aspect. And I did really like the final line, "Wake up, number 37," because that line kind of made my brain buffer for a second. Like, wait. I was like, oh, that's right. She did say that. So like, it was really interesting to me. And out of 5 stars, I think I would give this movie a pretty solid 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
DJ, what about you? In your own words, could you describe the final sequence, and out of 5 stars, how would you rate this film?
Well, the final sequence was very intense because, and confusing because, at first I wasn't sure how close he was to the bridge.
Right.
Like I thought he was still like way out there or something like that. And it was just a coincidence that they were both stuck in traffic. And then, then obviously it was like, no, they're just at opposite ends of the bridge. So, but yeah, it was very intense because, like, something's going to happen, but you're not sure what until the bridge starts vibrating.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing the bolts and stuff starting to shake loose and everything. And it's like, that's what's going to happen. That sucks.
Yeah.
And so they both do what they can to try and get as many people off the bridge as quickly as possible. But in situations like that, you got panickers and people that are going to ignore you and stuff. And so what happens. But it was very interesting. As far as the rating goes, I'm going to match Remy and give it a 3.5. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I did enjoy it. When I got to the hour mark, though, I looked at how much time was left and was like, okay, because like the sequence that was going on, I thought it was like, I wasn't sure what to expect with the movie, so I thought it was like getting ready to kind of ramp up and stuff, and I'm like, no, it's only been an hour in, and like got a whole nother hour to go. So obviously there's a lot more to this than what it was kind of insinuating. So, but overall, it was pretty good. I remember seeing the trailers for it when it first came out, but I never got around to watching it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, still entertaining though. Yeah, despite my rating, still really liked it.
Another great DJ. You're up for the next pick for the movie. By the way, just wanted to let you know. But another great conversation. Good having each of you on, like always. Doris, Nick, we missed you guys tonight. Can't wait to have the whole gang back together, so we all can see each other and just talk, laugh, and have fun like we did tonight. Those who watched us, those who support us, we greatly thank you for tuning in like always and going back checking out our videos. I am Donald.
I'm DJ.
You guys.
Remy.
Remy.
Serge.
And we are the Sci-Fi Nerds.